Hill yesterday, but apparently it did not take Mo Brooks by surprise. And here's how we know that. Congressman Brooks tonight tells a reporter, Jim Newell at Slate.com, that he was wearing body armor when he gave this speech on the morning of January 6th. Quote, because of a tip he'd received about potential violence, Brooks had been wearing body armor at the very same ellipse speech in which he encouraged rally attendees to start taking down names and kicking ass. Quote, that's why I was wearing that nice little windbreaker, Brooks told me with a grin, to cover up the body armor. He didn't say who warned him or what the risk was that he'd been warned about. Well, those sound like good questions for the new select committee investigating the January 6th attack. We don't know who will be getting subpoenas from that committee, but select committee chairman Benny Thompson told us on this program last night that those subpoenas are going out soon. In terms of what led to and prompted the January 6th attack, the lies about election fraud, the narrative of a stolen election, the fantasy that Donald Trump's election loss could be overturned, that all needs to be investigated by this select committee. But that is not just stuff that happened before January 6th. As far as a false narrative about the 2020 election that is inciting people to violence or potential violence, we're all living in an active crime scene right now. This is ongoing. Take the so-called audit that Arizona Republicans have been conducting of the 2020 election results in Maricopa County, Arizona, the one being run by the Cyber Ninjas guy who is a QAnon Stop the Steal conspiracy theorist, where they've been running through ballots. They've been taking the ballots and running them under ultraviolet light, looking for bamboo fibers because maybe the ballots were secretly sent to America from East Asia. Today, the guy who's been overseeing the audit for the Arizona Republicans quit after being locked out. He was actually physically locked out of the building where the audit has been taking place. Well, that was this morning. He quit. And then later today, he unquit. So that's going well. The whole Arizona audit circus was supposed to last a few weeks. We are now 4 months in. The Arizona Senate Republicans just this week sent a whole new batch of subpoenas to Maricopa County for more stuff that they want to look at. They're just going to keep on looking. This thing is going to go on forever so that Donald Trump and his allies can keep pointing to it and saying that proof of all the fraud is coming. It's just around the corner. And it's spreading. In Wisconsin, the Republican chair of the State Assembly Elections Committee is gearing up for her own Arizona-style audit in her state. She doesn't want just a forensic audit of the 22 election. She wants a cyber forensic audit. I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure it's much fancier than the regular audit. This Wisconsin legislator made a little pilgrimage to the Arizona audit site last month so she could learn how to launch one back home. This is on top of the election investigation initiated by the Republican Speaker of the Wisconsin Assembly, who hired some ex-cops to dig into the 2020 election results for him under the watchful supervision of a Republican former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice who became a Stop the Steal activist after the November election. Oh, and there's also the audit of ballots in Wisconsin being carried out by a crew of random Wisconsin citizens, including a guy convicted of bank and mail fraud. Today, the Justice Department issued new guidance to states, basically warning them about conducting these third-party, uncertified audits, warning states that they could find themselves breaking federal law. A senior Justice Department official tells NBC News, quote, we are concerned that if they're going to conduct these so-called audits, they have to comply with federal law. They can't conduct them in a way that is going to intimidate voters. Well, we'll see if that guidance manages to dampen Republican enthusiasm for these audits in any of the many states that are considering them. It's hard to find any kind of braking mechanism for this out-of-control car that the big lie has created. If the election was stolen, if the people in power are illegitimate, if Americans have been the victim of a vast conspiracy to deprive them of their democracy, what wouldn't you do? What action wouldn't be justified in that situation? Today on Capitol Hill, local election officials from across the country came to give testimony on how the big lie is affecting them, how the false narrative of a stolen election and the fake audits creating distrust in how local elections are run, how it has created an atmosphere of fear and threat and violence for election workers. They described it as feeling like a local small-scale version of what happened on January 6th at the Capitol.
We had armed almost rioters in Maricopa County. We had Alex Jones and the Q Shaman literally arm in arm shouting my name and shouting for other election officials in the parking lot, and their compatriots armed with some pretty heavy-duty firearms. And that was certainly no civil act of protest. That was not a grievance. The presence of those weapons in this environment was a threat, and that was very difficult. It was a step away from what happened here. The motivation behind these threats is the lie. That needs to end.
What we're going through is very much the same as what happened here, except for they're coming to our homes and they're making us very uncomfortable. Some of my colleagues have been shot at simply because of what we do. All of us have been threatened. It's unfair that we're attacked for doing our job. I feel afraid. I feel afraid. I know that I'm going to get some kind of repercussion from just this sitting here today. But I decided to do it because I believe in the right to vote.
I know I'm going to face some repercussion just from sitting here. Joining us now, Congressman Pete Aguilar of California. He's a member of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack. He's a member of the Committee on House Administration, which held that hearing today with local election officials. Congressman, thank you for being with us. You know, yesterday's testimony was incredible to hear. Lawrence O'Donnell and I were talking about this. We thought we all had heard everything there was to hear about January 6th, and hearing those police officers talk again was stirring. Same thing today. These people, these elections officials in Michigan and Arizona, telling them us about how they've been threatened. People have gone to their homes. People have threatened their safety. What did you take away from that today?
What I took away is that these are additional brave heroes who are administering our elections, and they are the fabric of our local communities, and they're under assault. And so our hearing today in House Administration, which you showed that clip of, was about a bill from Nikema Williams and John Sarbanes, and it's the Preventing Election Subversions Act of 2021, making it a crime to intimidate and harass elections officials, because we know that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to use the combination of the backdoor law change with, rooted in racism, combined with the audits, as you mentioned, and that's casting doubt on a free and fair elections system that is administered by those very individuals who are under attack.
The Department of Justice they had done this with Maricopa County and the state of Arizona earlier, a few months ago, sort of sent them a warning to say, don't lose the chain of custody of ballots, don't fiddle with stuff. They've written again to states to say where election records are no longer under the control of elections officials, this can lead to a significant risk of the records being lost, stolen, altered, compromised, or destroyed. The risk is exacerbated if the election records are given to private actors who have neither experience nor